Okay, guys, we started. So for the backend training for this year, guys, for this year, we will have 10 weeks, as I told you. It will not all of it, it will be backend training. Also, you will have some training or project with Capgemini. But what's important for me as normal, so we have this organization, which is backend class 2024. It's the same as the front end. So if I go here, I have something called home, that's the home repo. I will click on it. And in the home repo here, you can create issue, which will be deliverable issue and check-in issue. Okay? So deliverable issue and check-in issue, all the time, they will be in the home repo. Milan, if you don't know what that means, I'll explain it later. And also you can ask your colleague, don't worry. Okay, how many modules do we have in this backend training? First, let me show you the calendar actually quickly. So as you can see, the calendar is 10 weeks. We will be finished at 22nd of November. And yeah, so I have some extra week here because we will spend some time at Capgemini, that's the reason. Okay, so let's click here. Let's go back to the module. First, we will have Node module. It will be 3 weeks. I need to explain what is Node, how can we use Node, how can we build our server using Node. So after that, we can use a framework for Node, which is called Express. Does anyone know what is Express? Does anyone? It's a framework for Node, indeed. So it's a framework for Node. It helps us to build API quite simply or easily. So we will build different API. If you remember in the front end, we send a request to the backend to give us data. Now we will build this API. And this API, sometime it will go to the database, grab the data, and send it to the front end. Is the idea clear? Okay. So that will be 3 weeks. After that, we will have database. Of course, we need database to store our data. We have two categories of database. We have relational database and non-relational database. Relational database, simply they are tables. So I have column and rows. So I have rows and column, just like normal table. That's what we call the relational database. Of course, relational database, we have the language, we call it SQL, structured query language. So the language, we use it for a SQL database, which are table. We call it SQL. And SQL, of course, that's the language. We have different, how can I say it? We have different variant of SQL language. For example, we have MySQL. We have many different SQL variant. We can use it for our database. The most popular one is MySQL. And MySQL, we will gonna use MySQL. We'll learn MySQL here. Is it okay? Then no SQL or no database. Also, we have different examples here. Here in NoSQL, it's not tables. It's like object in JavaScript. If you remember, we have an object, and then we have property. So in NoSQL, we will use it. We will structure just like an object. It will not be like table. In table is a SQL database, but NoSQL, it will be just like an object in JavaScript. The most popular is called MongoDB, and we will study MongoDB for 2 weeks. And after that, at the end, I need to teach you how to deploy your project into a host. So we will use, just like if you remember, we use Netlify to deploy our front end to Netlify. Here we will use just another different host, probably either Netlify or we will say there is Render. So there is different host we can use for free to deploy our application. Is the idea clear? Any question in this module? Any question? No? Fine. Okay, let's go to the first module, which will be Node.js. So if I click on Node.js, that's my module here. And my module is this module. It will be for 3 weeks, as you know. Of course, you need to create a check-in issue for this module here, which will be Node. Check-in, it's 3 weeks. You need to create a check-in for this module. Not now, later. So for Node here, first, we need to understand what is Node. What's the difference between Node and the browser? We need to understand also non-blocking. If you remember in the front end, when we study asynchronous programming, we study non-blocking. We said that JavaScript is a single-threaded non-blocking language. And here Node is the same idea. We need to explain it in detail as well. We need to explain a little bit NPM, what is NVM. NVM is Node Version Manager, NPM Node Package Manager. You already know both, but I'm going to explain them again. We need after that to create our script or our server, and so on and so on and so on. So that's the objective here. So I'm going here to the lesson plan, and I'm going to week 1. So in first week here, we need to finish the first 4 here, which will be just introduction to Node, then some basic of Node. How can we debug our application? So if you remember what we use to debug our application is the front end. So in the front end, how can we debug our code? We use the debugger, right? We use the debugger in the browser. Now in the backend, we don't have a browser. The browser does not exist because the browser, that's the client. Now we are in the server side. We don't have a browser. So how can we debug our code? We can debug our code in VS Code. So we will use VS Code to debug our code. So it will be the same idea exactly. It's just the different here. We cannot debug our code in the browser because the browser is server, it's client side, and Node is server side. That means we don't have DOM. That means we need to debug our code in our VS Code. Is the idea clear? Yes? Good. Basic of Node debugging, then we need to learn a little bit Express, and we have 2 projects for this week. We have cat API. We need to build a different API for cat. For example, if I want to add a cat, if I want to delete a cat, if I want to update a cat, if I want to add a cat, if I want to get all cats, and the same for movies. It's not difficult, don't worry. We will go step by step. It's not difficult, it's quite simple actually. So let's go to introduction to Node. It's simple, believe me. Now the first step, I want you to make sure that you have Node. And Node, of course, I want the stable version. The stable version currently is 20.17.0. So as you can see here, if you go to the repo, it will show you how to install it for Windows, for Mac, and also for Linux Ubuntu. So of course, to make sure, I can just go to my terminal here. Zoom would like to record this meeting, screen audio. Yeah, I said it's okay. So I'm just going to open my terminal like that. As you can see, you all have terminal. If you are using Mac or Linux, if you are using Windows, you have PowerShell, right? It's the same. So here what I can do, I can just type node space -v. And if I click enter, it will give me 20.17. That means I have node. You can do the same to check if you have node or not. What is? The latest stable version is 20.17. In Node, normally we have 2 type of versions. So you have stable and non-stable. Non-stable, it's probably sometime you will have some error or bugs. We all the time we use the stable version, STL. So STL stands for stable version here of Node, and the stable version is 20.17. Clear? No, you can keep it. You can keep it. It's fine. You have NVM, right? Okay. So I already have a node. That's fine. So I have node. So what I can do? So what I can do here, if I type node like that, node only, you are with me, guys, right? If I just type node and hit enter, so as you can see, it's telling me welcome to Node.js 20.17. Type .help for more information. And I have something like that. As you can see, that's angle bracket. Now I am inside Node. And here I can write any valid JavaScript if I want to. So for example, let's try console. If I type, see, console.log, and here I type, for example, hello from Node, and I close it. Do you think it will understand this JavaScript or not? So if I click enter, as you can see, it say hello from Node, as you can see. So Node simply, it's just another environment to execute JavaScript. If you remember in the browser, if I go to my browser and I type the same idea, if I type console.log, that's my browser. If I go to the console here and I type console.log, for example, I say hi, enter, and it's working as well. So simply Node is just another environment, just like the browser. But the browser, we use it for the server, we use it for the client side, that means the front end, and Node, we use it for the server side, that means the backend. Other than that, there is small differences between the two. I will go through them later. There is more, for example, here we have the window, if you remember, the window, which is the biggest object in the front end. We don't have the window in the backend. We have something called global. So there is a little bit different between them, but the language is the same. Okay. So I'm quite sure now all of you have Node. You install Node. So let's go to something interesting here, which is called client-server module. Voila. Can anyone tell me what is a client-server module? Yana is laughing. That means she know. Excalibur. Yeah. Can anyone tell me what is a client-server module? Come on. What is a client-server module?
The link between the two, no?
Yeah, something like that. I will show you a graph here, maybe can explain a little bit. So as you can see, that's a client-server module. Anyone? Do you know what's the client-server module?
Client send the request.
So the client, which is the browser, client and browser is one, send a request to the server. After that, what does the server do? The server has logic. It takes the request, then it performs some operation. It depends on really how I created my backend. It can go to the database, maybe brings the data, and after that send. What do we call it? Response to the client or to the browser. So that's very simply the client server module. So what is this server? This module is quite important. So here we have the client here, and the client could be your laptop, your browser. It could be your phone. It could be your tablet. It could be anything. Okay. So that's what we call the client. The client normally send a request. Of course, we need internet connection, because if there is no internet connection, it will not be able to go to the server. The server available normally online. So it will connect to the internet, and after that, it will go to the server. Of course, my client send something, we call it request. What is the request? What type of data is request? What type of data is request? Is it a number? Is it no? What is the request? Yes. So the request is an object. That means it has a lot of property, and also it has a lot of property, and it has a lot of method function, a lot of method. So it has property, and also it has method. I teach in the front end. We talk about that we can put our function inside an object. We can put a property inside an object, and here we call them property and method. Okay, that's fine. So here's the client send a request here to the server. After that, the server receive this request and try to handle it logically. There's some logic on the backend. We will learn how to build our logic. It will take this request. After that, it do something, maybe go to the database, maybe try to do something, and after that, it will send a response. This response go to the client. Okay? Can anyone tell me what type of data is the response? Also object. So what I want you to remember, the request and the response all the time, both of them are objects. That means both of them has properties and method. Is the idea clear? So that's simple module, what we should call client server. Now, something very important I want you to understand. Let me go here. Let's say that's my client. Of course, I told you the client could be your phone, could be your browser, could be, so this one here is a client. This one is a client. It could be a desktop. It could be a lot of different devices. So here, let's say that's my client. Why we are not typing? So that's the client. Thank you. What the hell is going on? Okay. Client. And then I have server, of course, right? And in the server here, that's my server. Voila. So the guy here, which we call it the client, sends something to the server. We call it, what do we call it? We just discussed about it. What do we call it? Request. So request, the shortcut for request is REQ. That's request. Request is an object. After that, my server gets this request, do some logic, and after that, send a response. So that's my response. Voila. And response, the shortcut for it is called res, like that. Voila. Both of them are object. But what I want you to understand now, the request can carry some data. The request, if I want to, I can add some data to the request. And also the response, because it go to the server and the server can go to the database, it can carry some data and send it to the client. Is the idea clear? So for example, if I go to the browser and I have a form, I need to fill in my name, first name, last name, address. When I click in that, it sends a request to the client. I'm sorry, it sends a request to the server, but also it carry all this data, my name, my last name. So the request, I can add some data to the request if I want to. Also the response, also I can add data to the response, and then the response carry it to the client. Is the idea clear? Now, important point here. The client server here, it's just like when I'm sending a letter. So let's say I will send a letter to Agnieszka, for example. Agnieszka in Poland, I am in Belgium, and I want to send a letter. Now, when I send a letter, I will just write name, information here, something like that. After I send the letter, I will put it in an envelope, and then I will go to the post office. Now, if I go to the post office and I did not write my address and her address, this letter, it will be delivered or no? Of course, no. So I need to write my address. Also, I need to write her address, and like that, it will be delivered. Now, when, let's say that's a request. When she receives this letter, she will write another letter, same idea. It need to add her data, her address, and my address, and after that, send it to me, and I will receive it. Now, the second time, let's say I want to send a second letter. Should I add my data again? My name, my information, and her information. Should I add it again or not? Yes. So it's the same idea here. When I do a request response module here, or client server module, the request work only this way. So I'm sending my data, or I'm sending a request, I'm getting a response, and it's finished. I don't have any other connection between the two. So I can send data from my request to the server, and the server can send back a response with data, but after that, everything is lost. I don't have any connection anymore. If I want to send another request, I need to add the data again to the request. That will be very important when we do authentication. Because when I do authentication, I'm telling the server that's me, that's my email, that's my password, for example. All the time, I need to attach some information, we call it token, to my request. If I don't attach the token, the server, it will not know it's me, and it will not allow me to log in. You got the point? So the module here, which we call it client server module, we have request, we have response, and finished. We don't have any more data. If I want to send more data, I need to add again request, response, and so on. So if I have two requests, one time, second time, there is no connection between the two. They cannot remember each other. So they are totally separated. Is the idea clear? Authentication. So authentication, we will study it after 2 weeks. The idea of authentication or authorization, in the backend, I will create something. I have a library which we call it GWT, JSON Web Token. I will create a token. A token is very long string. Then I will send it to the client, and I will save it in the cookie of the client. And each time the client send a request, automatically this token, it will be attached to my request. And when it go to the backend, I need to validate this token. And like that, it's me. So you need to understand this point. It's very, very important. If I'm sending a request from the client to the server, and after that I have a response, it's finished. There is no, if I want something else from the server, I need to send another request. So there's no connection between those. It's just like I'm sending a letter to you and you're sending back a letter to me, and that's it. Clear? Of course, there is some exception. Not what we will study. It's not part of our curriculum, but I'm going to teach you. For example, if you go to chat application like WhatsApp, for example, and stuff like that. In WhatsApp, that's not going to work, right? Why? Because in WhatsApp, all the time, I'm chatting, my friend is chatting, a group of people chatting. So this client-server module, it will not work. Well, we have something, we call it WebSocket. WebSocket, and of course, WebSocket, but for JavaScript, we have a library which is called Socket.io. It's just like WebSocket. What WebSocket is doing here, it's making connection between the client and the server, and it's allowing the client to send a request and also the server to send a request. So both of them, they have connection between the two. My client can send a request. Also, my server can send a request. But of course, that's not part of our curriculum. I'm going to teach you, but not now at the end. Okay? Is it quite clear? Ms. Milan, you are with me? Okay. So that's simply what we call the client-server module. It's super important. Of course, this is the basic of web application. It has advantages and have disadvantages. Some of the clear advantage is my client and my servers are separated. So my client here, normally it's in one laptop. My server is another laptop, in another laptop. That means if I want to update my client, it will not affect my server. And if I want to update my server, it will not affect my clients. They are separated because this one is one device, this one in another device. Okay? Now, this module here, which is client-server module, is a little bit vulnerable for attacks. Because let's say, for example, I want to send some data, let's say my credit card, stuff like that, if I want to send it to the backend. Now, sometimes there is some type of attack. They're trying to, when I send a request, they just stop in my request and try to steal my data, okay? But also we have some mechanism to prevent that. So don't worry, of course we have some mechanism here to do that. There are some advantages, as I told you. The client and the server are separated. If I want to update this one, if the client, I want to add 8 giga memory, it will not affect the server. In the server, I can increase the memory, it will not affect the client. But I mean, some disadvantages here, it's a little bit vulnerable for attacks, so I need to be careful how to organize that. We will discuss about that in the coming weeks, so do not worry, okay? Clear? Of course, if you want to study or to read more here, it explains in detail here how the browser interact. So here it's explained in detail, as you can see. So here I'm sending a request, the user sending a request, and then I will have a response. We have some advantages here, as you can see, and we have some disadvantages here. Vulnerability, that means it's a little bit vulnerable to some attacks. Of course, you can read it. I think it's quite interesting. I just divide it into smaller part and step. It's quite interesting. Any question about the client-server module? Any question about the client-server module? What's important for me, you need to understand when I send a request from the client to the server and then I have a response, if I'm trying to send a second request, the first request and second request, there is no connection between them. They don't remember each other. They're totally separated. Okay. That's fine. Let's go to basic web application. So if I have a web application, any web application here, I have client. Now we study it. I have server. And normally, if I want to store my data or I store my data, I will need something called database, right? Of course, the client could be, again, it could be your laptop, it could be a desktop, it could be your phone, it could be your tablet. And then the server here, for us, we will build our server using nodejs. So our server, it will be exist here. We build it in nodejs. Then what we're going to do, we store our data in database. Why we store our data in database? Can anyone tell me? Why do we need database?
Yeah, we need the memory for storing data.
Yeah, so to store our data, but we need more. There's something else. There's more advantage. Structure our data, but also to protect our data. Because maybe sometime my server, someone try to attack my server, and it will easily access my data, and it will be like a disaster if I'm, for example, working for a bank. All people has credit card number and stuff like that, so it will be a problem. And now First, we need database. Why? Because we have a lot of data. We need to organize them. We need to structure them. And that's the reason we use database. Second, database are very secure. So we have a password. We have stuff for data, our database. Also, what allow me database here, allow me to query my data easily. That means I have very 1,000 client, 10,000 client. If I know the ID of my client, I can very easily access this client and just grab the data of this client. That's what we call querying data. Clear? Of course, those stuff we're gonna study them in detail. So what? Now I have a question here. I have a question for you. Let's say I have one server. I have one server and I have 1,000 clients, all of them sending a request at the same time. Do you think my server, it will be exhausted, let's say, because it's doing a lot of work or not? It depends actually, yes. It depends on the server, on the hardware, how much memory I have, how much CPU I have. But let's say I have 10 clients. These 10 clients sending a request to my server. Then I have 10,000 clients. Will be different or not for my server? Of course, it will be different because 10 clients sending 10 requests to my server can handle these 10 requests. But when I have 10,000, I mean, imagine this way. If I have one guy working in a restaurant and I have 10 clients asking him to do something, for example, can I have a sandwich? Can I have some water? 10 clients. And after that, if I have 10,000 clients for one guy, of course, he will do more job. Okay. So what could be the solution? Let's say I have my server here. I have a lot of clients and a lot of clients sending a request to my server. So my server here, of course, it will do a lot of work. And because I am using Node is how many threads we have in Node? How many threads do we have in Node? In JavaScript, how many threads do we have? It's single thread. One thread do I have. All the work, all my code is being executed by a single thread. Okay, but it's a synchronous thread. Okay, now one guy is doing all the jobs. That means if I have 10 clients, and by client here, I mean browser or your phone, sending a request to my server. But if I have 10,000, well, I will have a lot of load on my server. What could be the solution? So if I want to, of course, here, if 10 clients sending a request, they will get a response faster. But if it's 10,000, no, it will be very, very slow because it's 10,000 requests, and my server is doing a lot. So the response here, it will be very, very slow. How can I solve this problem? I did not understand.
Prioritize in a queue or
Yeah, the idea in the server, actually. It's not related to the client. The idea in the server, what should I do? Can I add a second server? Yeah, I can just create a second server, copy my server, create another device and add second server. But if I add second server, I will need a device, and this device is called load balancer. You may tell me, what is a load balancer? You just need to understand it just in theory. So that's my client. Let's delete those. Let's delete those. Let's say I have two servers here. Let's go here. Let's go Command D. That's second server. Yeah. Server 2. Okay, now what is the load balancer here? So the load balancer is just a device here. If I send a request here, it will check this server and this server. If this server has a lot of load, a lot of requests, it will just direct it to the second server. That's what is the load balancer. Simply, so it works how? It will check the first server. Do I have a lot of requests? If yes, it will try to forward it to the second server. Simply like that. Yes, Goldkey. It's a device. It's a device. You connect your server with the device. So this load balancer, what it's doing here, it just works in this way. It will check my server, see how many requests I have here, how many requests do I have here, how many requests do I have here. Let's say we have two servers. If I have 20 here and I have one here, it will redirect it to here. Simply. If I have 5 here and 20 here, it will redirect it to the first server. That's the load balancer. Yes, Adil.
servers, you have the same data
You will have the same data, the same exactly. What will differ only, it's just like two copy. That's it. I have two copy here. Instead of one guy working in the restaurant, I will have two. And the guy doing the same job. I mean, this one is waiter, this one is waiter. But now instead of one doing the job, I have two doing the job. Yes, Agnieszka. I'm sorry? No. So all servers are the same. We don't have mother server. I can, by the way, I can duplicate it, 2 servers, 3 server, 4 server. In my last company, we used to have 7 server. The load was too much, so we have 7 server and all 7 just working here. Is it okay? That's the idea here. So again, if I have too much request, how can I solve this problem? Well, I can add another server. And in this case, I will need a load balancer. A load balancer here, it's work on algorithm. So what it's going to do, it will check each server to see how many requests I have, how many requests I have, how many requests I have, and it will try to redirect it to the least request or number of requests I have on the server. Is that clear?
How we can use this load balancer if we have not our own server and we use servers from others?
What do you think? The server is just a device, huh? The server is just a device. It's just a computer. So the server is just, it has just a memory, RAM. It has CPU. I have my data on it. So if I want to duplicate it, I can just take my data, duplicate it in another device and another one. So it's quite simple.
It's a physical device. I do not get when where we can use it.
Did anyone understand Daria's question?
Well, let's say it's physical.
Yeah, it's physical. It's physical device. It's physical device. So when you have your server, okay, let's say I have a lot of device here. So my servers are just device like that. So it's for example, let's say Facebook. Facebook has a lot of different server, and I will connect all these server with just a physical device called the load balancer. It's not here. It's not on the client, on the server side here. For us, we will not gonna use it. You did not understand it.
We use server from another company, but we don't have our own server.
So you don't need it. If you don't have your own server, you don't need it because the load balancer is part of the server. It's not part of the client. It's on the server side. So the server side is just some device. If you go to Facebook, for example, server, you'll find a lot of devices, a lot of huge computers. And these computers are all connected by some switch here, which is called the load balancer. Clear? Now, of course, if I have more client, I can add more server, but at some point, that's not gonna work anymore. So I need another way. How could be this way? So I can add 2 servers, 3, 4, 7, something like that. But at some point, even if I add more server, it will not work anymore. I need something else. I need another idea. Can anyone, for example, Facebook. Facebook has like a million and million of the clients. Can anyone tell me how Facebook manage that?
If they have a server in each continent.
Very good. So we have here something called CDN, Content Delivery Network. So at some point, my server is not going to work. So what we can do here, we can build different server all around the world. Why? Because when I send a request to the server, the distance between the client and the server, it play an important role. For example, if my server in Belgium, I'm sending a request, let's say I get my request in 1 minute, for example. If it's in the United States, it will be more late. Why? Because there is more distance between the client and the server. So how can I solve this problem? So Facebook and this guy here, they are using a technique which is called CDN, Content Delivery Network. By the way, we're not going to use it. It's just theory. So I will have different servers, as you can see, all around the world. And we have something called mother server, as you call it. It's not called mother server. It's not called mother server, but we call it the main server. But again, let's say that's my main server. So how does that work? If I am a client, let's say here I am in Europe here. If I want the main server in the United States, for example. Now, all the data only exists on the main server. The data here, all the client only exists on the main server. But what if I am in Europe and I send a request to the main server? The first time I send a request, It will take my data and then it will go to this CDN server when in Europe. This server in Europe, it will make a copy of my data and it will save my data. So next time I try to connect, the distance between me and the server, it will be smaller, and like that, it will give me my data faster. Proxy? So a proxy is just like, how can I say? It's like Mark, something like that. So that's basically the server. It's just not one server, it's a group of server, but it's been, how can I say? It's been installed all around the world. All the data on the main server. When I try to connect the first time, it will go to the main server, bring my data. And the server in my country or close to me, it will copy my data. So next time I try to connect, it will be faster. Yes? No? That's here. You will not use it, will not need it, but just some information here. Okay, well, can anyone tell me what is HTTP and HTML? We know what's the HTML, right? First, let's go to the easiest. We know what's HTML. Can anyone tell me what's HTML? Hypertext. What's HTML? It's markup language, right? Hypertext markup language. So we use HTML. Why we use HTML? To build the structure of our website. Now, remember something. From the server, I can send some HTML to the client. So if I have some HTML, a file, something like that, I can send file, by the way, from the server to the client. I can send HTML, I can send CSS, even I can send JavaScript if I want to. Of course, if the client, the browser receive HTML, it will show it as a page, right? That's what we call HTML. But what is HTTP? If two computers want to connect, so now we human, if I want to connect with you, I'm using an English language, right? I need to use one language. So I'm using English now. We understand each other, we communicate with each other with some set of rules. We call it language, and the language is simply English. If two computers want to communicate with each other, they use specific rule or language. If you want to understand it, we call it HTTP. Simply like that. So HTTP is some rule or language two computers use to communicate with each other. Simply like that. Is the idea clear? You don't need to know more than that. That's it. So what is HTTP? It's just a language two computer or more, of course, computer used to communicate with each other using HTTP. We human, we communicate with each other using languages, depend on the language we use. Is the idea clear? Now, if you remember, like 10 minutes ago, I told you, sometimes if I'm connecting with my bank, I need to add my email, my password, my national number, maybe stuff like that. But if I send this data here, just like that raw data to the server, maybe some guy, maybe, I don't know, maybe a hacker, or maybe someone try maybe to try to just access my request and grab this data. And of course, if you have this data, then you will be able to access my data, and then it will be able to take my money, for example. So what could be a solution for that?
Security.
So we have something called HTTPS. So HTTPS, it's similar to HTTP, but what's happening here, the data I am adding, they will be encrypted. So they will change it to another form. So even if someone try access my data, he will not be able to decrypt my data. Simply like that. So HTTP is the same as HTTP, but it's secure. So there is another layer of security. What's going to do here is grab the data, it's secure. It's kind of encrypt the data, transfers them to another string. No one can understand. So even if someone access my data, he will not be able to understand what this data for. Simply like that. Is the idea clear? For production, all the time for production, we use HTTPS. For development, we use HTTP. Because HTTP is not secure. So if we are just developing our server, it's fine. I mean, we are the client and the server. But in real time application, we need to use HTTPS. To do the HTTPS, you need to buy a certification. I think it's called SNL, something like that, in the website. So you will pay for it, or even some of them are for free. And what's going to do here, all the time you send data to the server, it will encrypt your data. And then when you get it to the server, it will decrypt them. So you just don't have to worry about your data. Is the idea clear? You can read through this one here, hypertext markup language, and then we have HTTPS, which is simply is HTTP, but with security here. So it encrypts my data, and as I told you, when you need to buy it, some certification, some of them are online free, it's called TLS actually. And that's simply how it is. Any question about basic web configuration, client server module, HTTP and HTTPS, HTML, install node? Any question about those? Is the theory idea is clear? Okay, finish with the theory. Of course, at home, you need to go through them, read them again, try to understand them. And if you have a question, you can ask me again. So let's go to the basic here. Some basic here, we need to code a little bit, which is nice. We will just go through some stuff we studied before. Can anyone tell me what is a variable? What is a variable? It is container to store value. So a variable is just a box. It's a box. Imagine just like a box, or container is just a box. We put inside it a value. So we can just say container to store. I need to change my keyboard because I cannot type it. To store value. Value. Yeah, I think that's the variable. How many type of data or how many data type we have in JavaScript? First, let's start with the primitive data type. So primitive, just a second. We are just reviewing this stuff, huh? I mean, it's the basic, just reviewing some few stuff here. Can anyone tell me what's our primitive data type? Number. So for example, let's say const age, it's equal to 13, for example. What else we have? We have what? String, const name, it's equal to John, for example. Of course, we can do single quote or double quote in JavaScript. There's no difference between the two, as you know. Okay, name, it's not correct. So we have now number, we have string, and also we have Boolean. So what is a Boolean? A Boolean simply is a true or false, 0 or 1 or true or false. So for example, I can just say const is happy. Are you happy? True. And voila. Simply like that. What else do we have? Undefined and null. So const, we have undefined. So undefined, for example, if any variable I declare it, I did not give it a value, it will be undefined. For example, const Agnieszka's age, for example. I will not be nasty, no. Const food. If I don't define it this way, or I do, it's equal to undefined, it's the same, by the way. So any variable in JavaScript, if I didn't give it a value, is a value by default, it will be undefined. I have null. Can anyone, for example, null? Null, it's very similar to car is null. Can anyone tell me what's the difference between undefined and null? Yeah. No, there is difference between these when we go through it in detail in the front end. What's the difference between undefined and null? What type of null? What type of null? Object. What type of undefined? Undefined. So undefined is data type and value, but null is type is object. Now, both of them have the same value, which is nothing, but here undefined is a data type and value. Null is a value, its type is an object. Of course, in complex or reference data type, what do we have? Object, arrays. We have another data type. Function, yes, function, of course. So we have arrays. For example, I can just say names, const names, or numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you will already know that. Object here, I don't want that. Const person. And person here, it will be an object. I can add, for example, here name and age. That's what we call an object. What's the difference between an array and object? Yes, so array are orderless. That means I can use the index to access any value I want to here. So the index of 1 is 0. The indexes in programming all the time start with 0. With object, I access it using the key. And here it's not ordered. That means if I put the age before the name or the name before the age, it doesn't matter because it's an ordered list. But here the array is ordered list. Okay, also we have function. So what is a function? Can anyone tell me in 1 or 2 words? What is a function? In 1 word. It's an action. So a function is an action. For example, if I want to create a function for, let's say, hello, for example, hello, I can just say const say hello. And function all the time we start with verb because they are action, say hello. And here I can use either arrow function or you can use different type of function. Of course, we have function declaration, arrow function, well, something like that here. And of course, if I want now to call my function, I need, if I want to show something here, I need to call my function this way. So that's what we call function. Here I'm telling JavaScript, this is my function, and here I am calling my function. That's simply the data or type of, or data type here in JavaScript, just a review quickly. Yeah, we've seen this one, I've seen this one, we've seen this one. We need to discuss spread and rest operator. Can someone open the door? Let's take a break, 15 minutes. We'll all refresh. And Ramya also, it will be here. And then we can come and complete our study. Okay, guys, we're recording. So first we saw some data type here. We told you what is variable. I told you variable is just a container, a box to store value. In JavaScript, we have different data type. We have primitive data type. Here we have number, as you can see, string, Boolean, undefined, and null. And we have reference data type or complex data type. We have arrays, we have object, and we have function. So here, let me just type object, and in here we have a function. So I have two questions here, actually. If we put a function inside an object, what do we call it? So if we take a function or put it inside an object, what do we call it? Method. So we call it a method, that's first. Second here, we study that in the front end, where JavaScript normally, the memory has different parts. One part is a stack and the other is called the heap, if you remember. So if I go to the primitive data type, where do we store them? In the stack or in the heap? In the heap. Why? Primitive data type in the heap. Why? Anyone else? Primitive data type, where do we store them? Or where JavaScript stores them? In the stack or the heap, and why? What's the difference between the two? I told you before, primitive data type, we store them in the stack. Because they are primitive, we store them in the stack. And of course, JavaScript thread can, like that, access them very easily because they are in the stack. And because primitive data type are simple, that's why we save them in the stack. But the complex data type, they require more memory. So we don't save them in the stack, we store them in the heap. Okay, because an object now, I can take one property from object, I can add another property, 10 other property. So we don't store it in the stack, we store it in the heap. Is the idea clear? So primitive data type in the stack, complex data type or reference data type in the heap. Is it okay?
You can find the graph, so with the visualization, it's easier to know.
We've seen that before. Let's say that's the stack, okay? So we have numbers here, numbers, we have string, we have Boolean, undefined, and null. But if I have complex data type, for example, an array, I will store the array in the heap, and what I have in the stack is just a reference. So I have just a number which references this array. So what we store in the stack, we don't save the data if they are complex or reference. We just store just some value. That's what we call the reference. It's just like an arrow taking me these two arrays, the array is stored here. Is the idea clear? We'll study that in the front end in detail. Again, array, I told you array is an order list. That means the order doesn't matter, is important. I can access each element using the index, and index in programming most of the time, if not all, start with the index start with 0. An object, I told you, it's an order list. That's mean if I put the age before the name, or it doesn't matter really. A function is just an action. Here I'm calling my function. Now we have something called spread operator and rest operator. So can anyone tell me how can I use a spread operator? We use it with what? So we use a spread operator with? Yes, for array and object. So we use a spread operator with arrays and object, and it allows us to create a shallow copy, not a deep copy, a shallow copy. For example, if I want to copy all the property here in the person here, so what I can do here, I can just come here and I say const new person. I will name it a new person. And here all I have to do, because it's an object, so that my data here, the person is an object. So I will create an object like that, and I will say dot, dot, dot. And here I just have a person. Voila. And of course, now if I log the new person, it will give me the same. So let's log it, new person, and let me show you in the console so you don't tell me. Okay, now let's just say node. What's the name of my file? It's called server, right? Yes, so click. And as you can see, voila. So the log, I have name John and age 13. So what I did here, as you can see, I'm just logging the new person. It will take this property and this property, and it will put it inside the new object. So that's what you call the spread operator. Okay. Now, what is rest operator? Can anyone tell me? Yes. Good. So what is the rest operator? Anyone else? What is the rest operator?
And then in arguments, they do just one and two.
Okay. Anyone else? What is the rest operator? It's very similar to spread operator, but we don't use it with object and array. We use it with function. We've studied that before. Okay, let me create a new function here. So I'm gonna go here and I will show you the rest operator. So let me create a function, const, sorry. Let's say, for example, log. I will name it my function log numbers. And here, let's say I do not know how many number the user will pass. So I don't know, maybe the first time when the user use this function, he will use one number. Maybe the second time he will use two number. Maybe the third time he use 10 number. I don't know how many number he will use. In this case, I can use the rest operator. So I can go to the argument here and I can say dot, 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 nums like that. And that means the user here can call any number of argument he want, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, whatever he want. And to convince you here, let me just log. I'm gonna log the argument here. So I will just say log, console.log, just log like that. And of course, if I'm gonna log, I will just not say dot, 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 num. No, I will just say num only. So if I wanna log the value here, I will put num. I will not put the 3 dot, just num, that's it. And now if I call this function, so let me try to call my function with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then let's try to log it again. I will with different argument here. It's more, as you can see. Now my question here, I am logging nums here, as you can see. I'm calling my function 2 times. I'm logging nums. What do you think the value of nums it will be? For the first time, I'm calling the function, and for the second time, I'm calling for the function. What data type nums it will be? It will be number, it will be undefined, it will be object, it will be array. What data type it will be? Numbers. Anything else? So what do you think the data type of nums is? Agnieszka? An object. Are you sure? It will be an array. And let me show you. So now I'm logging both of them. let me just comment this one because I don't want to see this guy here. So let me do that. Am I logging anything here? Yes, I'm calling my function. Let me uncomment this one as well. And now let me run my script here. So of course, to run my script, I will just say node because I am in project one. I'm in the same place, so I can just say node. And the name of my file here, and the name of my file is server.js. Click, and as you can see, I have array one, array two. So each time, every time I use the spread operator in my function, even if I pass one argument, nums here, it will be an array, even if I pass just one numbers. And let me show you here, instead of passing all of that, I'm gonna pass only one number. And if I run my script again, both of them, it will be array again. Voila. And as you can see here, we have an array with one. So it doesn't matter if you are using the REST operator, automatically JavaScript, it will take all the argument you are passing to the function, even if it's one, and it will put it inside an array. If you are passing none, it will be an empty array. So let's try to pass none here. Like that. And let's see what will happen. Log it again. And as you can see, I have an empty array. And the second one, of course, it will be 1 from 10. And here I have an empty array. Okay? That's what we call the REST operator. So spread operator, we use it with object and arrays to make a copy, shallow copy from them. REST operator, we use it with function when I don't know how many arguments the function can accept. It could accept 1, 200, I don't know. So in order to do so, I can just use the REST operator, just dot, 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 and I can give any variable name. Remember this variable here, it will be automatically JavaScript. It will create an array and it will push all the value I am passing to this array. If I pass nothing, it will create an empty array. Is the idea clear? Okay, that's simply the REST operator and spread operator. We have destructuring, and destructuring should be simple actually, right? Anyone remember destructuring? So I have an object here which is called person, and I have an array here. I'm gonna copy them and I'm gonna move them here. Okay, now let's say I want only in let's start with the array here. If I want only this number 2, only I want number 2, how should I use destructuring here? So I want only number, I don't want number 1 here. I don't want 3, 4, 5. I just want number 2. What should I do? So tell me, what should I do? Const? Yes. Curly brace or square bracket? Because I am array, I'm dealing with array. Square bracket, and after that, what should I do? Just add num1 like that, it will work. And here I can name it to nums. Do you think this one will work? I want 2. I don't need number 1. I want number 2. Do you think this one will work? What should I do?
Numbers,
No,
bracket one.
Comma like that?
No command. Write numbers and then bracket and one inside.
Name of the array.
But I don't want that. I want to use the destructuring. I can use bracket to access the index. I don't want that. I want to use destructuring.
Destructuring, you have to take const numbers equal, open the brackets and
So just tell me, what should I do? Like that? And it's equal to my array numbers. And what should I do here?
numbers
Uh,
equal to
Const numbers.
equal to no numbers after const.
No.
That's what it is. So you have to put there
The problem here, it's in this place.
what the second. So
I want the second one, yes. Comma. Like that, you mean? Like that? Like that will work? Are you sure? This one will work? So let's log num2. Let's see if that will work or not. Who say it will work? Yes. So if I run it, well, I got 2. Why is this one is working? Well, I told you before we discussed about that. Here I am telling JavaScript, I know there is number 1, but I don't want it. That's why I say comma, and I want num2. Now, if I want the num5 and I don't want 1, 2, 3, 4, what I need to do here, I need to say comma, comma, comma. So this num1 is go here, num2 is go here, num3 is go here, num4 it will go here, and I want num5, voila. And now here, of course, if I log num5, it will give me, how much it will give me? 5. We've studied this one before, right? So you just need to make a space about the comma and say, I know num1 is here, but I don't want it. I know num2 go here, I don't want it. I know num3 go here, I don't want it. Why? Because we are dealing with arrays, so the order is important. So I need to do it this way when I'm doing the structuring. With object is different because it's not an order list. So I can just add, for example, name and age. Let's try to do the same with an object. With object, it's super simple, right? So I need to say const. I need the age, for example. I just say age. It's equal to my object, which is person, voila. So as you can see, it's simple. And now I'm logging the age. And of course, it will work.
Person.age.
Identifier age.
Person.age, no?
No. Person here, I have person. Const age. Just a second. Do I have any age here? I have another variable age at the top. That's the reason why. Okay. So now if I go back here, as you can see, I just need to put the age. Which property I want age? I will just put age. It's equal to person. And now here, if I run my script here, as you can see, voila, and it will work 13. Simple. If I want the name, I will just need to add comma. It doesn't matter if it's before or after a name like that. Voila. If I add, for example, address, what address it will be? So I'm adding a property does not exist in my object. What do you think the value will be? It will be undefined. Indeed, it will be undefined. It looks like I have name as well at the top. So let me comment this so I don't have an error. Voila. So simply, if I now try to log the address, it will give me undefined. Why it will give me undefined? Because simply I don't have the address in my object. It will go inside my object, search for address. It cannot find it. So it will give it a value undefined. And that should be good. Voila, undefined, as you can see, and 5, which is the number I want. So that's spread operators, that rest operators, that destructuring. That's just a simple review for JavaScript. Any question? Question? Good. Let me just remove all of these guys here. And now let me go to this one. We review everything here. Let me go to this one here, which is called FS module. So what the hell is FS module? Can anyone tell me what is FS module? File system. File system. Now, in the front end, if I want to create a file, can I create a file in the front end? Let's say I am in the front end. Can I create a file if I want to on my device or no?
Yes.
In the front end, can I create a file if I want to or no? Let's say I am now in the browser and I want to create a new file in specific folder I have. Can I do that? I can't. Why? What was the reason why the browser does not allow me to create file? It's security issue, because if each front end can manipulate my device, that means each website I go to it, I visit it, it can manipulate my device. And that's a huge security issue. But on the backend, we can create file, we can add file, we can delete file, we can do whatever we want to. Okay. Now the problem here in the backend, in the front end, we cannot, of course. That means we don't have a lot of security issue. In the backend, we can, and that's sometimes a security issue, because when you create a file, you need to know how to create it. Okay. Otherwise, people may attack your server and try to do some damage or some harm. In general, the client, when he accesses your server, he will not be able to access anything except public folder. So we have a folder, we can make it public, and we allow the user to access, for example, some CSS or some HTML or some JavaScript. Other than that, the client cannot access anything in our server. Okay? And that's how it should be actually. So we have the file system. Before I go to the file system, I will need to discuss a little bit what is Node, and then I will come to the file system. What do you think Node is? What do you think Node is? So it's just an environment or runtime to execute JavaScript away from the browser. That's simply Node. Again, a node is a runtime or environment to execute JavaScript. Of course, Node, it has a lot of nice feature. It's very fast. It's also single-threaded, but it's very fast. It works also, it's single-thread, just like JavaScript in the front end, it's single-thread. We will study that. It's single-thread, but it's non-blocking. That means in nature, it's fast. Closed platforms, that means I can install it on Windows, on Mac, or Linux, it doesn't matter. Large ecosystem, why do I have a large ecosystem for Node? What is a package manager for Node? NPM. In NPM, as you know, we have thousands of libraries. That means I can use all these libraries to write my code to make my life easy. And that's why we say it's a large ecosystem, because Node package manager, it includes thousands, I think even 100,000 or up to 2 million, something like that package. Yes, we have a lot of packages, and you can just install these packages and use it for your advantage. Small note here, Node was created. Let's say the creator of Node, what did he use to create Node? Can anyone give me an idea? Yes, the guy who created in 2009, he said, okay, I can execute JavaScript in the browser, but why I can execute JavaScript in the browser? Why? Because I have JavaScript engine. So I told you in each browser, I have JavaScript engine. In Chrome, which we use, the engine, we call it V8. So the guy think, okay, what if I take V8 outside of the browser? And he did take V8 outside of browser, and then he adds some API, some library, some extra feature, and voila, that's Node. So Node was building with C, C++, and JavaScript. So the guy created some extra library, some extra feature, some extra built-in module for Node. He used C and C++ and some JavaScript, and then voila, that's Node here. Is the idea clear? Okay. We use Node mostly. We can use Node for our backend, but there is just important point here. If your backend is, how can I say it? If you have a lot of logic in your backend, a lot of calculation, which take long time, Node, it will not be suitable. Why? Because I told you Node is a single thread. So it's very efficient for quick task. But if I have a game, for example, which take a lot of time, a lot of calculation, stuff like that, Node, it will not be suitable for it. A C++ or maybe C#, it will be more suitable for comparing to Node. There is some use, of course. Yes, Goldkin. I'm sorry? For e-commerce, yes. For e-commerce, it's really nice, as I told you, yes. Node is a good option for e-commerce because it's very quick, it's very fast. It can handle a lot of tasks quickly. I cannot hear Goldkin. Did anyone hear him?
Because there are many filters and requests in the common web.
You mean in Node?
Node.js can handle them.
Node.js has any feature you want. So anything you can do with Java or C#, you can do it with Node. Anything. Anything you can do it. But again, it really depends on the task again. The matter is, if the task is very complex, take a lot of calculation. For example, if I had games, 3D games, which take a lot of time, a lot of calculation, Node is not a good option. I can use Node to build some games, by the way. But very complex game, Node will not be suitable for it because it's single thread. That means the thread will spend long time on just one task. And here it will be very, very slow. That's why I'm telling you, you have any other option. Node, we can use it for any task, which are very quick. You can use it for any website you want to. A lot of websites using e-commerce, they can use it fine. But for games, which not any simple game, very complex game, no, it's not suitable. Clear? Use this one, Facebook, Instagram, that's okay, that's fine. Facebook actually use JavaScript, they are not using Node on the backend, but they are using, I think, PHP, they are using Python, they are using some Java, if I'm not mistaken. So not one language, they are using multiple language actually. Okay?
It's not like classic JavaScript or classic language in general understanding. They adapt this language a lot, or no?
So your question here is,
JavaScript, but it's not like classic JavaScript.
yes, yes.
For their needs, and it's not like if you work in Meta and you use JavaScript and then you were hired somewhere else, you will not able to use this JavaScript in other company.
Well, JavaScript is a must for any programmer, for anyone. JavaScript is a must. Every company in the world, they are using JavaScript, because if you don't have JavaScript, you don't have front end. That's first. But when it comes to the backend, it's really depend again. So you have a lot of option. It's not just one choice. Now, Node, as I told you, why Node is really nice? Because you don't have to learn a new language. It's just JavaScript. And also it's really fast. So if my task, if I just have a small server, I want to build it, I have like 10,000 client like that, it will be perfect. Why not? But if my website is very complex, it take a lot of time to perform some tasks, no, it will not be a good option. You have another option. You have Java, you have C#, you have Python, you have a lot of options, not just those. You have PHP, so you have different options. In the front end, JavaScript is a must. Even for the guy who is not using JavaScript, you need to know JavaScript. But on the back end, we have multiple choice. It really depends on the company, as I told you. Some company just shift all the time. Here in Belgium, most of the company use Java. Although it's an old language like that, but still strong. Most of the company use Java and PHP, for example. For me, I think PHP is dying language, but most company here like PHP and they're using PHP. But yeah, in France and in Belgium, they're using PHP a lot.
CMS.
Yes, it's a CMS is using PHP, yes. That's okay. But that's not for developer. I mean, CMS like WordPress is just anyone can use it to build a small web server side, let's say, application. Yes.
Seen somewhere nodejs with Express. What is the Express?
Express is a framework we're gonna study it. Don't worry. Now, when we go to a little bit more, that's all theory. Just like React, JavaScript and React. So it's a framework, but for the backend. We cannot build server using only Node. It's very complex. That's the reason why we have Express. Express help us to build our API. It's very simple. Okay, you will see it. You will see it. Now it look very complex, but when you build it, it's very simple. Okay, we finish from here. Any question? It's just small introduction, nothing biggie. So let's go to the file system. Now, there's something important here. There is some modules which are built in Node, and there is some module which is not built in. Can anyone tell me what's the difference between the two? So we have some module, for example, the file system, we call it built-in or core, Node core. Or there's another one like Express, I have to install it. What's the difference between built-in module and, let's say, another not built-in module? What's the difference between the two?
You can just call to the project.
Yes.
Other ones you have to install.
Yes. So there is some module which is built in Node. You don't have to install them. We don't use npm install this one. No. Those are built in Node. But all I have to do, I just need to import them. That's it. I just need to import them and then I can use them. For example, the file system, it's built-in module. HTTP, we will see it now, is built-in module. So when the module is built in, that means I don't need to install anything. I just need to import it. That's it. Only. Is the idea clear? Yes. Again, we have, you can imagine the module just like a package. We have some package, they're part of Node. I don't need to install them. I just need to import them in my script. That's it. But other module, like for example, Express, it's not part of Node. I need to install it. I need to say npm install for example, Express, and then I need to install it, and then I need to import it. Voila, that's the difference. Let me come close because I cannot hear you.
In your models, in the node?
A lot of building modules.
Yes.
Yes, we have like around 12, and maybe even more. So we have file system, HTTP. We have few, but we're gonna use we're gonna use a file system a little bit. We're gonna use HTTP just in the beginning.
Okay.
We can use also pass. So we have a module called pass, and yeah, I think that's it. So we use 3 module building module.
So all of them we can just learn by heart.
Yeah, it's a very simple. You just impose them, and they're really simple. But what's important for me is a building module. You don't say npm install this one. No, just import it. But if it's not building module, you need to say npm. You need to install the package, then import it. Clear?
But they're in the global object, it's,
I'm sorry.
the built-in is,
Buildings, that's me. It's part of Node, so I don't need to install them.
If we found in the global object, it's or not.
It's no, they're not. Some of them, some API are included in the global object, but the part of Node, that means they're included with Node, so I don't need to install them. Okay, guys. Let me go here. And let me go here first to my project. I need to explain a few stuff for you. If I go to my package.json, Daria, if I go to my package.json, I have .env. Do I need .env here? Fine. So as you can see, I have dependency and dev dependency, and we study that in the front end. So dependency and dev dependency, both of them are packaged. We need to install them. Here I have .env. .env is a small library, allow me to, we will see it now, while you use .env. Then I have prettier, you already know what's prettier. It's helped me to just format my code. And I have Babel plugin. We studied Babel plugin before when we studied Jest. Can anyone tell me what is Babel plugin for? Why we are using this plugin? We use it with testing, but why we are using this plugin? Yes. Yes, compiler, but yeah, you are right, actually. It is compiler, but why, again, why I am using this Babel here with this setting? We study that in the front end. It's not about Jest, it's not about Jest. If I try to import, now we know that the file system is a core module, so I can just import it. If I want to import it, and can I say import fs, just like that, from fs, can I do that? Or no? ES6, so that's ES6. Can I use ES6 on the backend with Node? Can I use ES6? That's my question. So we need, normally, we cannot use import from like that, this ES6 syntax with Node. So we need to use the old syntax, which is called require. So I need to say, come on. What the hell is going on? Okay, I need to say, for example, const fs is equal to require fs. I need to use this syntax. This syntax is ES5. It's ugly. I don't like it. We can now use the new syntax, which is nice. Just import fs from fs. But here I will need a compiler. Why compiler? Because the compiler here, which is Babel, it will take this ES6 syntax and it will just convert it to ES5. I'm not gonna see it. It will just do that for me, and I can use ES6, which is nicer for me. That's why we're using this compiler Babel. That's why we are using this plugin. Is the idea clear? Yes? In here, I can use import. Why? Because if I don't have this plugin, and if I don't have this setting, I cannot use import. But because I'm telling you why I am using this setting, because I have this setting, which is babel.rc, which you will use it a lot, so you need to get used to it. And here in package.json, I am installing this one as a div dependency. Now I can use import. So what I can do here, instead of doing that, I can simply remove this one. I can say import fs from fs. Voila, simple, just like the front end. Okay, import, of course, is not correct. Now it should be fine. So I'm gonna first Now we will teach you how can we write, how can we create a file, how can we add a text to the file, what we call append, how can we read a file, how can we delete a file, okay? But of course, to do that, I will need a few modules. The first module is called file system. And file system is built-in modules. That means I don't need to install anything. So if I go to my package.json, I don't have something called FS, right? Why? Because it's built-in module, so I don't really need to install anything. I will also need to install another built-in module, which is called path. We will see now why do we need path. So I can just say import path. And here I think it's their name from path. Their name is just a directory name. So now the directory, my directory now currently is called project 1. So their name is just a directory name. Okay. So first I need to install some, or I need to import actually some packages or some built-in module. First, the file system. Second, I need to import the path and the their name from path. I will need to install something else here, as you can see, which is called file URL. It's that's from URL. URL also is built-in module. So let me install this one. I will show you now why do we need all of that. But first, let's import this one. So it's called import file to URL. It's from a module called URL. Okay. Now, first, I need to know what is the name of my, let me check here. So first I need to define a variable which is called the file name. So the file name here, I need to know what file I'm trying to write to. So can anyone tell me what's the file I'm writing my code inside? Which file I'm writing my code inside now? It's called server.js. Now I need to define the file, and then from the file, I can use the dir name to give me the directory name of this file. So let's try to do it. Here I can just say const. By convention, we name this file underscore file name. It's a convention. So file name here, I can use this function here, this method here from URL, and I can just say file to URL. And here I can use some meta tag, which is import meta URL. And here, if I log it now, it will give me the full path to the current file, which is server. So let's try to log it. Let's log file name like that. And now here, if I run my server, by the way, I have few script also. If I click on this one here, come on, not you, package.json. So I have start, and start here, it will just run my file node server.js. I have div, I'm using NodeMoon. I'll tell you what NodeMoon is in a while. And if I want to format my code, I'm using prettier. Here, I just want to run my file, so node space server.js. So instead of writing it all the time, node server.js, I can just say npm start, and it will do the same job for me because I have this script. So I can just say now npm start. And if I say npm start, it will do the same. I have syntax. What's the syntax error? Cannot use import statement outside of module. So I have a problem here, and also you need to get familiar with that. So whenever I have an error or whenever I have a problem, I will check my, now I will check my terminal. So let's try to read this one. It's just like debugging code. You need to read all the time. You need to understand what's going on here. So here it's telling me I cannot use import. As you can see, I have some error here. So I can know the problem from import, as you can see. What is telling me? It's telling me syntax error. So what is the syntax error? I cannot use import statement outside of module. So here you can Google this error to find the solution, or the problem here simply is, can anyone tell me what's the problem here? How can I fix this one? We also study it in the front end. Type, yes, so all I have to do in my JSON here, I can just say type, and here I need to say module, and the problem is fixed. Voila. Let's try to run my code again. And click, and voila, as you can see. So now, if you notice here, that's the log here. So what is this file name is doing here? So as you can see, /user/sam desktop hack your future bf backend node my project 1 server.js. So this file name, it gives me the full path to the current file I am working on. So I need all the time the full path. Why do I need the full path? Well, because now I can use the file name to know what is the name of the directory, what is the name of the folder this file inside. Because all the time I will need to know what is the name of the directory or folder. Because I'm trying to create a file, I need to know which directory I am inside. Okay? So now, as you can see, I have the full path to the current file, but I don't want the current file. I want the directory. What is the directory? What is the name of my directory? It's called project 01, right? So how can I create the directory? It's quite simple. I can just say here const, and here I can name it dir name, or I can name it path, all cap by convention. Path, all cap. And here I can use this method here or function dir name, and I can pass the file name, and now like that, it will give me the name of the directory. This file, this is my server inside. Let's log it to see if that's correct or not. So let's try to log this one, log the path. And if I log the path, notice here, I'm gonna run my code again. And notice what it's giving me. User, Sam, desktop, hack your future, backend node project, and project 01. So it's giving me correctly the path to my directory. And you may ask me, why am I doing all of that? I can just put the full path. I just can put it like that as a string slash user slash Sam slash desktop slash something like that. Why I am using this method? Why I cannot just write the name or the full path just in the string? Can anyone tell me? It's a short. Yes, it is shortcut, but we are using for another reason. Not just for this one. We are using for very important reason. Can anyone tell me what's the difference between Mac, Linux, and Windows in the past? No. It's about the past. Yes. So in Mac and Linux, we have forward slash, but in Windows, we have backward slash. So if I try just to run or try just to create this path just in the string, it will work for my device. It will work for Linux, but it will not work for Windows. You get the point? And that's the reason why I am using this module here. Yeah, because my computer is Mac. So it will work for my computer. It will work for Linux, but it will not work for other computers. Yes, that's the reason why I need to import these two modules, which is called dir name path. Now we will use the path, don't worry. And that's the reason why I'm just here. Of course, that's convention. I normally use it, the __ file name, and I can use this function file URL, which I imported from URL. I need to pass import meta URL, and it will give me the full path to the current file. And then I want the directory, so I will just name here. Also, it's convention. I use it const path. Now here, when I say path, it will give me all the time the full path to my directory. I can just use their name, and I can pass __ file name, and it will give me this one. That's nice. That's fine. Now I've defined my file name. I defined the path, as you can see here, the same idea, of course. Now, what do I want to do now? Let's say first I want to write to a file. To write to a file, we have two different ways. We have synchronously and we have asynchronously. And now one of you, it will tell me what's the difference between synchronously and asynchronously. Agnieszka. No, Agnieszka, she was laughing. That's the reason. So if I'm trying to write a file synchronously and asynchronously, what's the difference between the two?
Like it's not from top to bottom.
Synchronously. Okay, anyone else?
It's handle asynchronous programming. It's handle the request in one time, and synchronous programming is when one is finished, it's going to.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else?
Direct operation.
Mm-hmm.
Synchronous is like if you have more operation, you can wait that all the operation are done.
Good. So the difference between the two here, if I'm gonna do it synchronously now, my JavaScript, because it has only single thread, it will not do anything. It will go create the file, write to the file, and when it is finished, then it will go to the other task. Okay, that's synchronously. But if I do it asynchronously, it can do other tasks and then come back when writing to the file is finished. That's the difference between the two. Of course, it depends on what do you want, what do you need. Sometimes I need to create a file, then I need to write to it. In this case, I need to create it asynchronously. Other time, if I don't have, I'm not worried about that, I can create it asynchronously. It really depends what I want. I'm gonna teach you both methods. How can we write, read, append mean add more content, delete or unlink a file using synchronously and asynchronously, both operation. So let's start with asynchronously.
So why we are now learning also synchronously?
I am teaching you both way because sometime, again, now let's say you have some text, you want to add it to a file. But if you don't have the file, it will not work. So first you need to create the file, then write to the file. So I need to make sure that first creating a file is go first, then writing to the file. You get the point? So it depends really to my needs. Sometimes I need it, sometimes no. Now asynchronously. First, let's try to write to a file, right? To a file. Okay. Actually, let me put it in the second line here. So first, asynchronously, I want to write to a file. So in order to write to a file, who's gone here? I see someone just left. Ahlam. Okay. So in order to write to a file, what I can do, which module should I use? Which model should I use? fs, of course. So I can just say fs dot write. So as you can see, I have write file and I have write file sync. So I have a lot of function, as you can see. Write file syncs. I don't want that. I want write file. So if I click on write file like that, and that would be asynchronously, of course. If I click on that, now here I need to pass a few stuff. First, I need to pass the path. What is the path? The path, of course, it will be, so the path, it will be the path to my file here I'm trying to write. So here, as you can see, I have the path to the directory, but I don't have the path to my file. So what should I do? What do you think I should do? Can I create a new variable? For example, I can just say const file path. It will be equal to path.join, and I can name my file. Let's name my file message. Message. You can name it whatever you want, by the way. I'm gonna create message.text. So here, what I'm going to do here, that's my file path. I'm trying to create a path to the file. I am using the path module, path.join, and then I'm passing the path to the folder or directory and comma message.text. Message.text, it will be the file to be created. And my question for you here, why I am using path.join? Here I'm using path.join. Why? Can anyone tell me? I just discussed it just before 1 minute. Same reason. Why I am using path.join? Why? Yes, because it depends on different operating systems. So I have the path to the folder or the directory and have the name of my file. But if I try to connect both using // it will work for Mac, it will work for Linux, but it will not work for Windows. But what join is doing here, join allow me to join the path to the folder and the name of the file depending on the operating system. So if it's Mac, it will add // if it's Windows, it will // And now here I have the file to map. So to write the file, first I need to pass the file path. And now here, as you can see, I have the whole file path. So let me add file path like that. And also I need to pass something else. So what do I need to pass? That's the path to my file here, the file I want to create. Second, I need to pass what do I want to write to this file. So what do I want to write? So let's create a new variable and name it message like that, const message. And here it's string hello node from node.js. That's my message. So what I can do here, I can just say message like that. And the third argument here, it will be a function. So the third argument, it will be a function, and it will be a callback function actually. So this callback function take one parameter, it will be the error. Okay. And of course, if I have an error, so what's going on here? When I try to write to a file, of course, if the file does not exist, as you can see, the file does not exist, Node, it will automatically create the file for me. And it need whatever I want to write to this file, that's fine. And now this operation here, it's async operation. There's two possibilities. Either I will encounter an error or it will be write successfully to my file, right? And now here, as you can see here, the third argument, it will be, I told you, a callback function. It will receive one parameter by default, it's error. If I have an error, what should I do? I can console.log the error, for example. So here I need to check first. If I have an error, then what I should do, I can just log. So I have console.error, as you know. Why console.error is not working? So I can just say console.error, and I can return, or if I want to, else I can log something else here. For example, I can log file was written successfully. And voila. It's simply like that. Any question here? What's the difference between console.log and console.error?
Or throw an error.
So console.error, it will just log this error. It will just write it to the console, okay? But it will provide me some information. But throw an error, it will show an error inside my console. You got the point? Console.error, it's just like console.log. It will show the message inside your terminal. It will not throw an error. I will not encounter an error. No, I will just see a message. But if I'm throwing an error, I will see an error in my terminal. Yeah. That's what happened when I can just say throw a new error. It's fine. Throw an error. Voila. If I want to, or throw a new error. New error. Error should be capital, I think. Voila. And voila here if I want to. So it's the same idea. But if I'm throwing as an error, I don't need the return statement, because when I'm throwing an error, it will stop my code executing my code. So I don't need the return statement.
See it in the terminal or not?
What happened here, if I encounter an error, it will just in the terminal here, I will see error, blah, 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 stuff like that. So let's try to run our code and see if it will work or not. I don't know. So let's see, npm start. And as you can see, file written successfully. And if you notice here, a new file is being created. It's called message.txt, right? If I click on it, hello node.js, and voila. Is the idea clear? It's nice, huh? Sweet, huh? I'm not gonna throw an error. I'm gonna just log the error, Agnieszka, but the idea is the same as I told you. Error. Where is my error? I'm not sure where's my console.error, but anyway, console.error. Yeah, voila. So that's how we write to a file asynchronously. It's quite simple. I just need to use the file system. It's built in module, then dot write file, not write file sync, write file sync for synchronous operation. And then here I need to remember it takes three parameters, at least three parameters. The first parameter, it will be the path to the file I want to write. And as you know here, I've created this path already. So this path to my directory, the current folder here. That's the reason why I created the path here, because I know I'm gonna need it. So I have the path to my directory, but I don't have the path to the file I want to create. And that's the reason I created a new variable called file path. I took this path and then I concatenate or join it with the name of my file I want to create, message.txt. Then after that, I need to write some message. What is the message? I create a variable message, which is hello, node.js, stuff like that. Then I will just say file system.write file. The first parameter, it will be the file path. The second one, it will be whatever I want to write to the file. And the third one, it will be a callback function. And here we are using arrow function. It take one parameter, which will be the error. First, I need to check. If I have an error, I will throw an error, or I will just console.log or console.error the error. If I don't have, I can just console.log write to file successfully. Is the idea clear? Yes? No? Good. Now we know how to write to a file, but how can we read from a file? Now currently I have a message.txt, as you can see, right? So let's try to read whatever inside it. To read from a file. To read from a file, I already have the path to the file. See, I already have the path. So it will be simple. So what I can do here, also I can say fs dot read, and I have read file, as you can see. First, I will need the path. It's where is my path to the file? Where is the full path to my file? File path. So I'm gonna just copy it this way. And the second parameter I need to use what character encoding. So what is the character encoding? If you remember in HTML, all the time we have UTF-8, right? So if I don't use UTF-8 here, and that's most of the time we're developing, we use UTF-8. If I don't use it, it will not be able to read the text here. It will show me just as a number. So I need to pass the character encoding. And the character encoding, we use it most of the time, is UTF-8. So what I can do here, I can just say, as you can see, I have all the character encoding here. UTF-8, you can pass it this way or you can pass it this way, it doesn't matter. I just need to pass character encoding. And the third parameter also, it will be a callback function. But this callback function, it will receive how many parameters? 2. The first one, it will be whatever I am reading from the file. And the second one, it will be error. Voila. So what I can do here, I can just say comma, and I can pass an arrow function. It will first, I will receive the error, then that's my data. And what I can do first, I need to check if I have an error, right? If I have an error, what should I do? I can log the error. If I don't have, I'm gonna log the data. That's my data, simply like that. So if I have an error, I'm gonna log the error, console.error like that, I'm returning. If I don't have, I want the data. That's what I want. That's my data here. So that's what it will be, my data, it will be this one here. Whatever inside the file, that's the data. And then here, I'm just logging my data like that, simply like that. Remember, when we are reading a file, you need to pass a character encoding. Now here in write file, I can pass again. I can pass here UTF-8 if I want to, but it's not necessary. But in reading, I need to pass character encoding. If I don't pass character encoding, it will not be able to show it as a letter, as English. It will show me just 1, 5, 13, 12, something like that. Is the idea clear? Okay, let's just comment this code here because I don't need it for now. And let's try to run this code. Do you think it will work or not? What should I see here in the console if it worked? I will see file data, and it will be hello from hello nodejs. So let's try to run our code. Of course, to run my code, I need to say node space the name of my file, but it's already in start, so I can just say npm start. Click. It looked like I have a problem. File path is not defined. Why is not? Yeah, because I think I commented. That's bad. I don't need the message, so well, that should be fine. Let's try to run it again. Expand my console. npm start. And voila, as you can see, file data, just what I log, file data, colon, hello, node.js. Voila, so that's how we write to a file, and that's how we read from a file asynchronously. Cool?
Data is always data, or we can write, I don't know, message or.
Here's the name. You can name it whatever you want. It's just, but what's important here, you cannot switch between the data and the error. You got my point? Because the callback function, it will receive first the error, then the data. And here you can, even the error, you can name it my error, whatever you want. The data, you can name it whatever you want. The name doesn't matter, but the order does matter. I will have error first, then I will have the data. Clear? Daria, you look like you are suffering. What's the problem? Huh? Confused? Why? Too much information? New information, it's for everybody new, not just for you. That's why I'm explaining it. That's why we have a video. That's why tonight, when you get home, you're gonna review it, spend some time reviewing it. So it's okay.
Yes.
Okay, now we learn how to write to a file. We learn how to read from a file. What if I want to append to a file? Append means, indeed, I have this one. I want to append another text. What if I want to do that? Well, it's quite the same idea, by the way. It's not something new, so I'm gonna file pass, I need it. I'm gonna comment this one for now.
FS dot.
Okay. I need to join something, so I need a new message. I need new data, right? Now here my message, no, let's just name it something else. So I'm gonna declare a new variable here. It's okay. Const new data, let's say this new message or new data or whatever you want to. Hello, no, it's already hello node. Hello. Let's say by node, for example, not hello. By node.js. Okay, so if I want to append some data to my current file, also I have a method for that, so I can just say fs.append, and as you can see, I have append file. So append file here, it will take first the pass, same idea for all of them. First, I need to pass the pass. Where is my pass? Where is my pass? So where is the pass to my file? It's called file pass, right? So I'm gonna copy this one, and I'm gonna put it here. Voila, comma. And then I need to pass the new data. Where is my new data?
Message.
New message. So I need to pass my new message. New message. Don't worry about the argument and stuff like that. It will take some time for you to adapt to all of them. It's okay. You don't need to remember everything at one time. And here I will need a callback function. Now, callback function, because I am appending to a file, I only have how many parameters? I'm not reading. I'm just appending. One, which will be is the error, just the error, because I'm trying to append. Either it will work or I will have an error. So here I will have a callback function and it will just have the error here. Same idea. If I have an error, what should I do? If I have an error, I should just check. I need to console.error the error and return, else I will say data appended to a file successfully. Successfully, like that. Voila. Is the idea clear? Let's try to run. Yes, Madam Agrishka.
We are appending, but if we again do the write file, so it will be overwrite?
Yes. So when we write to a file, it will remove all the content, everything inside, it will write again. So that's what the write is doing. So even if I will now show you, let me show you actually. Where is the write file? This one. Let me just do this one like that. And let me for now just comment this one, just to show you. So now I have write again. As you can see, I have the pass, everything, but I'm gonna change the message. Remember, in the file, I already have node, hello, node.js. So here I'm gonna name not hello.js, I will name it something else. I will add some gibberish, blah, blah, blah. Now, if I run my server here, what's going to do here, let me remove hello, just to make sure we are not confused. What's going to do is going to remove everything from my file and it will write this guy here. So let's see if that will work or not. So let's just Control G and try to run again. And well, as you can see, file written successfully. Now let's check the file. And as you can see, I just have the gibberish. I don't have any more node or hello from node. Okay, that should be clear now. Let's go back again to append. I don't need all of that actually. I need the file pass only. Let's go down, down, down. Yes, I need that. New message, okay. So now I already have some gibberish in my file, remember? And now I'm trying to append this guy at the end. What I can do here, if I want to be on a new line, what can I do if I want it to be on new line? Yeah, so I can use escape character /n, and here it will create a new line, and then it will type this one if you want to. It's okay. So now let's run our code again, and here just npm start, click, and here data append to the file successfully. If I go here, notice I have my gibberish, I have a new line, I have by node.js, and voila. Cool. Not cool? You're making me want to cry. You have all the stuff, so you can go slowly. It's just some function. That's it. It's just a function. You need to know which function, each function I am using, you need to know what parameter is taking. That's it. No more, no less. By the way, I should put this one actually inside a triangle. No, it's fine. It's fine. I still have one operation to do, which is delete a file, and we should be done because now we learn read, we learn write, we learn append, so I have to delete. What do you think the name of the function for delete? fs dot delete file, remove file. What do you think? No. Unlink. That's the name. Okay, let's try to unlink our file. So what we can do here, we're gonna comment this one. Small note here. You may ask me, why did you create this file at the top here? These variables, this path, this one here. Because I know I'm gonna need those each time I make an operation, I'm gonna need them. So if you have a variable that you will need it all the time, it's a good idea to put it as a top. And we will learn that during the training all the time when you do as a project. So I will do the project before you just to check whatever I need, I put it as the top, and then we use it again and again. Okay, that should be fine. Let's go here and try the last one. So I have fs.unlink, and we have unlink file. Yeah, it's not unlink file actually, it's even unlink only. And here I need just to pass one parameter, and the parameter here, it will be the file path, and then I will have a callback function, and it will be just an error. And if I have an error, I'm gonna log the error. If I don't have the error, I will just say file deleted successfully, simply like that. So I have file path like that, and then comma, I will have my callback function, which is error. And in here, I will have, of course, if I have an error, I'm gonna console.error, delete, deleting the file, else I'm saying file deleted successfully. That's simply how it is. It's called unlink. So to delete a file, we call it unlink. Let's try to see if that will work or not. Command G, click. Notice the file here, message. Click, and message is gone. I don't have message.txt anymore, as you can see, and the file is deleted successfully. Well, so that's how we write to a file, read a file, delete a file, or unlink file, append to a file using asynchronously. Okay, asynchronously means it will not happen immediately. It will be moved to Node API until the task is ready, then it will be executed. Now we will learn the same task, but we will do it synchronously. So there is no different. I just want you to see the two different approach. That's it. Yes.
It's like, okay, run the server and it's deleted, and can I undo if I made a mistake?
No, if you delete a file, it's gone. You need to create it again. Let me check. I don't think even it's go to the trash ban. So see, it's not even in the trash ban. You need to be careful. It will be removed, deleted automatically from your whole system. It doesn't go even to the trash. Okay? Yeah, so you need to be careful when you are using unlink. Okay, guys, we've learned all of that. So I'm going to keep the file path because I will need it again. So let me move the file path to the top because I'll need it. Yeah, let me put this one as here, just so for space. So we've seen asynchronously, now we need to see it synchronously. First, let's do the same. Let's try to write to a file synchronously, and in order to do so, it will be the same idea. I need to use fs file system dot, then I will need to write file sync. That's the name of the function, write file sync. So let's click on this one here. So first write, it will be fs dot file, write file sync, write file, where is it? Write file sync, do you see? Voila, it's on the top. So when I'm trying to do write file syncs here, remember here it's synchronous. That means I don't have callback function. So here we've seen all the time I have a callback function, error or error data, error. Because I'm doing this task, I'm doing it synchronously, I will not have a callback function here. So the callback function here does not exist, but it will be a great idea to put it inside a try and catch block. In case I encounter any problem, try and catch, it will be great for that. So error like that. And here, let's just console.error the error. And now here I'm inside the try and catch. I'm gonna move this one here. I'm gonna move this one here just for readability. You don't have to do that. Put so fs.write file sync, and here I need to again pass the file path. So I need to pass the file path. So what is my file path is this one, and the second parameter here, it will be what I want to write to my file. And here I will name it, for example, let's declare a variable here. Let's name it what const message. Let's name it message, for example. Voila. And here I will just say message. And that should be fine now. So as you can see, it's not a lot of parameter, as you can see. And here, of course, in case I have any error or encounter something, what will happen here, it will go to the catch block, and the catch block, it will log some error for me, so I know that something bad happened. So if it does not go here, I can log, by the way, I can console.log file written successfully. So if I am inside the try block, it will try to write, then it will log file written successfully. But if I go to the catch block, then it will show me something different, okay? Let's try to do the same task and see if that will work or not. Let's Command G. Let's notice here if the file will be created or not. No, X is not defined. Where the hell is X? Where is X? X is not defined, line 34. Yeah. I don't even know what is X. Okay. It looked like I had just uncommented variable, so I've removed it. Let's try again. And as you can see, file written successfully, and I have my file again. Voila. What is it? Voila. Hello, nodejs. Same idea, but here is a synchronous task. That means your thread, it will be busy writing, creating a file, writing to the file. When it's finished, then it will go to other task. Is it clear? Yes? Daria even put her hair like that.
Actually, the first example is the error. This is asynchronous because there is the error.
So no, normally when I say synchronous, that means the task is being operated one by one from top to bottom. That's synchronous. But asynchronous, no. Some tasks I cannot, because JavaScript is one thread only. I cannot waste. I mean, I cannot just put all my website waiting to do these tasks, because some tasks, if I send a request to the backend, it will take some time. So I cannot make this thread wait for that. So I need to make it asynchronous task. That means the task, it will be moved to something we call it web API in the front end, and in Node we call it Node API. It will be waiting there until it's done. Then it will be moved to the queue, and then we have the event loop, which it will be executed.
Just an example, what is the asynchronous operation?
So all the operation done first, the asynchronous one, yes, and then the asynchronous one is done all the time. So if you have a code, your code, JavaScript, it will scan your code from top to bottom. The synchronous code, it will be done first, then the asynchronous code. Okay? Ms. Milano is cooking.
When you take first example, it is the error. And that's the moment that the operation is asynchronous, because try something doesn't work, error. So there are different operations. That's the way. And but it is also in the second example that it's synchronous. You use try catch. So it's like
the reason why I am using try and catch here, if you notice here, now if I have an error here, if I have a problem here, I'm using try and catch. If I have a problem here, I will not be able to do anything. I'm not throwing any error. I'm using catch just to show a message here that something happened. In asynchronous code, yes.
understand. So start, decide what is going on. But the first one, I don't understand what are the order of the operation, for the first, the second. So to be, it's like maybe stop somewhere
And look to my code now currently. So what will happen, because I'm using synchronous code, in my JavaScript, it will parse the first line, second line, third line, fourth, all of those, because all of them are synchronous operation. Then it will come here to fs, write file, do this one. If anything happen, any error happen, it will just log this one. That's it.
the other thing, the asynchronous.
Ah,
First one, understand what is the asynchronous in the first.
asynchronous means some.
Understand in the example, what is the asynchronous situation?
Ah,
Like when I saw, you give the first example. So you said this is asynchronous. Why is asynchronous there? There is not
why is asynchronous?
where did it? Because for example, in a set timeout duration, I can see that there's asynchronous.
Okay, now I got your question. So the file system, of course, to know this information, you need to go to the documentation. Okay, the file system allow me to write, read, delete, all of that in two ways. If I want to do it in asynchronous way, it gives me this function which is called write file. Write file always it's asynchronous. Read file is always async. So it's telling me this function is async function. Okay, I didn't build this function. I'm just using them. I didn't build this module which is fs. It's already in JavaScript, and it's telling me if you want your code to be async, you need to use this function.
Say I'm using a synchronous operation.
Yes, that's the idea. So it's not my creation. No, it was I created this module. It's just like a framework if you want. It's a package. So when I go to use this package, I need to read the package to know, okay, if I want to use asynchronous code, I need to use this function. This function, this function, this function. But if I wanted to do it asynchronously, I need to use write file, sync, read file, sync, and so on, which is synchronous operation. Clear? Okay, guys, we learn now how to write to a file, as you can see. Now we need to learn how to read from a file. And it's basically the same idea. Can anyone help me? I'm going to comment this one. And I'm going to use again try and catch in case I have any error. So try and catch. Thank you. I don't like this one. I like the error like that. Let me just make some space. And you too. And here, what I need to do, I can just say console dot error. It's writing. No, I'm trying to read. I'm not trying to write. Reading file. Okay, so if I want to read from a file, I can use as another function. It's the same idea. It will be read file sync. So let's try to do it. So I can just say fs dot read. So as you can see, as you can see, I have different options. And each option here, it depends. You need to go to the documentation to know which function. This function is synchronous or asynchronous, and so on. What different parameters it take. Where is it? Read file. It's the first one. So if I type read file sync, click on it. And here it will take different parameters. Also, I need the file path. Then I will need the encoding character. What was the encoding character? UTF-8. And that's all I need. I don't need anything else. So let's try to pass it here. I will need to file path and character encoding. Well, but where is my data? Where is my data? Where is my data? My data is when I'm using this one read file sync, this function is going to return my data. So what I need to do really, I just need to save it in a variable. And I have my data const data. It's equal to voila. And I need just to log my data. Should be simple. Now, the reason why we did not save it in a variable in asynchronous code, because it was already on the callback. But here, this function read file sync, it will return me my data if the operation was successful. Is the idea clear? Yes, no? Don't worry, I'll give you some exercise now to practice, don't worry. I'm tired already. So when I finish just append and unlink, I will give you some exercises. You can practice a little bit and yeah. So let's try to run our code. Okay. It's been a while I didn't coach, so let's run. And as you can see, file data, hello node.js. And if I go to here, hello node.js, so that means it was successful. Voila. Which is quite simple, as you can see. When I say simple, Daria, yeah.
Save it in a variable.
Yeah. So I'm saving it in a variable because this function, which is read file sync, I need the data. I can't have the data. So this function, it returns the data. So that's the reason why I need to save it in a variable. Because here I cannot have my data. I need to, that's how the function work. I need to pass my file path, the character encoding, and then where is my data? This function here, it return my data. And then I just save it in a variable while. In the other one, but in the other one, it's different because as you can see here, this asynchronous code, I receive my data in the backend, in the function here, the callback function. So inside the callback function, I have my data. But here, when I'm doing it synchronously, I don't have a callback. So this function return my data. Okay, now I need to append. How can I append? Same idea, nothing new. Just try and catch. And error. Of course, if I have an error, I will just say console.error, as you know. And here, error appending a file. And here, I can make some space if I want to, just to make it a little bit clear. So if I want to append to a file, it will be quite simple. I can just say fs same idea dot. It will be append file sync. Where is append file sync? Do I have it? It's the first one. So append file sync. Append file sync take two parameters. The first parameter is the file path. The second parameter is whatever I'm trying to add to it. So here I'm just gonna pass first the file path, which I have. And the second one here, let's name it new message, new message. Of course, I don't have new message. I need to create this variable. Where is my message? Let's just do it here. Const new message, const new message. And I already have, what do I have inside it? So I have hello node.js, and now I am adding by node.js. So yeah, there is a break line in the front, so it will add it to the new line here. And if everything is fine, it will be fine. If not, it will go to the catch block and log some error. Yes, same idea, nothing changed. So let me open my terminal and try to run my code. Where's my terminal? So let's run it. And yeah, what the hell happened? Nothing happened because simply why nothing happened? Did I add any log here? So I forgot to add the log, but it was appended successfully. And if I go here, see, hello node by node. And I will do it again just so we can see the message, but it will be something else it will be added again. So by node, it will be added another time. But it's fine because I want to see the message. Click. And as you can see, data appended to file successfully. And if I go to my file, I have by node 2 times because I did it 2 times. The last one is unlink. So let's try to do unlink as well, and we should be done. I will give you after that some exercise to just practice a little bit on it. You have everything on your repo. You have everything explained in detail in your repo. I'm doing it with you just to explain. And after that, we have some exercises. It's missing some blanks and you need to fill in. The last one here, it is, let me remove this one. I want to unlink my file. So let's click on here. Try and catch. Of course, I need a try and catch. I will have an error. In case I have an error, I need to log the error. If I do not have, just give me a few seconds. I'm almost done. And then I'll give you a break 15 minutes, then you can come back to do the exercise, okay? Here, of course, if I have an error, I'm just gonna console.error. Yeah, I mean, it's not some, it's as we normally do. Where is the console? Console.error. and here arrow deleting the file. And of course, here I have the same fs dot unlink sync. So unlink sync, it just means delete the file. Here I need just to pass the file path only, nothing else. After that, I will write file deleted successfully, and that's it. And let's run it. Notice the file. What will happen to the file here? Message.txt. Click, and voila, file deleted successfully. And that should be okay. That's everything. Let's take a break. It's 21. Let's take a break 15 minutes. Let's get back again. We have some exercise you need to do. So you need to fork the repo to do the exercise on your device.
Bucket 3.
Huh? No, it's 21, just 15 minutes. Guys, am I still recording? I think yes.